Let's get into it. Episode 700, Soul Not For Sale podcast. And of course, we celebrate episode 700 with a Joe Rogan episode, of course. But Joe Rogan's very scared. He's very fearful. Apparently, Israeli forces are starting to actually put boots on the ground in Gaza. Now, me, myself, I think this is the way to go. I think this is the way to go to minimize the amount of casualties that come about. Instead of carpet bombing buildings and this and blocks and, oh, we thought there was someone there and this and that. You get boots on the ground with your highly intelligent IDF accompanied by Mossad intelligence, and you go boots on the ground and you find your enemy and you eliminate them. I think that's perfect. I'm sure they'll even find some collaborators along the way. I think that's the way to go. Joe Rogan, on the other hand, he's very fearful of this, and it's making him very scared of the looming threat of World War III. So let's get into that clip right now and hear what Joe has to say about it.
Israel is about to
right at this moment.
Gaza. They're talking about a ground invasion of Gaza, and they're preparing for it. This is
gnarly.
This is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's so terrifying because we're so close to World War III. We're so close.
It's no joke, man. That really feels like that's what's happening.
It is happening.
Yeah.
It scares the fucking shit out of me.
Yeah, it does me too.
And someone from the government was just having some sort of a press conference where they're saying, you know, we are at war and war is messy. And this, and I'm like, whoa. Shouldn't we be doing everything we can to avoid this? Every single possible thing that we can to avoid this.
And it doesn't seem like they look ahead. They just go, here's what we got to do.
Right.
Here's what we have to do. Like, I get it. It's like what happened on October 7th, was it?
Yeah.
Is horrible. Absolute atrocity and like barbaric and absolutely terrible. And I get it. You have to retaliate and you have to do what you got to do. But how do you do that? Like of course you want to get rid of Hamas. That sounds great. You know what I mean? I completely support that. I think everybody supports that for the most part. But how do you do that without so much collateral damage? It's ridiculous. And then even more important than that is fast forward 5 years from now.
Right.
What happens? Like,
what are the repercussions?
Yeah. Especially around that whole area with all those Arab countries.
Yeah.
And we're backing that. We're backing them killing all these people there. And we're also backing Ukraine against Russia. And now it's looked like we're going to back Taiwan. We just sent an aid package to Taiwan, billions of dollars to Taiwan. It's like we're opposing all these, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're opposing China, Russia, and now these Arab countries.
Yeah, it's scary, man.
I'm not the person to talk politics, but that, I mean, or international military strategy. But I just watching the news and trying not to, and just try. And it's funny because I mean, I've always known about Israel and Palestine just from what I hear on the news and like just sort of hearing, like kind of understanding on the most surface level. And it wasn't until now, age 51, where I've been watching, like listening to podcasts, watching documentaries, trying to like educate myself and like figure out what this conflict, how it came to be, what the history was. And it's the more I try to learn about it, the more complicated it seems.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, and the consequences for all of us are so grave. Because if it does go completely sideways, if someone goes nuclear, we're fucked. We're fucked. The world's fucked. I mean, we're getting knocked back into the Stone Age, if we're lucky. If we're lucky. If we're not lucky, the whole human race gets wiped out.
And all it takes is one person to go rogue.
Yeah. And
like you saw for Hamas to do what they did in Israel, that was totally strategic. They didn't do it. They didn't like do all that barbaric shit in that way, like just to prove a point. It was super, like they wanted a crazy emotional response. They were trying to escalate the situation, obviously, right? Like you would never do that without going, what is this going to do? It's obviously they're going to full on airstrikes, ground invasion. It's pretty obvious that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So they basically wanted that to happen. They wanted, like, I listened to the Coleman Hughes podcast. You just had Coleman on the show a couple days ago, whatever that was. The way he broke that down how he simplified everything and like he made so much sense out of it. But I just can't stop thinking about the repercussions of retaliation and escalation and getting every single other country involved. And it's just wild.
When it gets me is late at night when I'm alone. This was even before the Hamas invasion. It was just thinking about Ukraine and Russia. I would be at home and, I'd just go through the news feed and read some stories, and then everyone in my house would be asleep and I'd be awake and I'd just going, fuck, is this the last days of normal civilization?
Yeah.
Because every movie where, we ascend into the apocalypse or descend into the apocalypse, that's how it starts. It's like, there's normal life, you're dropping your kids off at school, bye honey, I love you, and then hours later, sirens, bombs, powers off, no water, no food, people are struggling. It's just like if nuclear bombs start going off, the world will be unrecognizable. We will be right back to barbaric Stone Age monsters in a matter of months, matter of weeks, days even. There's no power, no food, no nothing. There's the fucking border's been invaded by hundreds of thousands of illegals. How many of them are militants? How many of them have snuck in across the border and are forming terror cells? We don't know. I mean, that's the giant fear.
That's for sure happening.
For sure.
There's no doubt.
For sure.
I read this thing that there's like 6 to 10 million people that came across the southern border in the last 4 to 5 years. That's as many people that live in New York City. And then like a crazy increase in people coming across the northern border.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And I see it. I've been in California a lot the last few months. It's insane how many more people are just obviously all of a sudden just appearing, like getting dropped off on street corners with buses, literally just in the middle of nowhere. They literally just get off the bus with a cell phone.
But look at New York City. When Coleman was explaining how New York City literally has a mandate to house its homeless.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be the people that lived there that were down on their luck. And now it's people that have come in from other cities or other countries rather, illegally. And they're trying to make it so that those people can vote. And you see what they're doing with people from Venezuela?
Crazy.
They're sending people back from Venezuela.
Only from Venezuela.
Yeah, because Venezuela opposes socialism, so they're not going to vote Democratic.
Yeah.
They don't want those people.
That's crazy.
It's fucking wild.
It's crazy how it's so like when you start thinking about it like that. That sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's like totally political. All these moves.
100%.
Yeah.
They're literally importing Democratic voters.
Yeah.
They think by allowing the borders to be porous and by giving people aid and giving people housing that you're essentially guaranteeing that if you can rig it so that those people are allowed to vote, those people are going to vote Democratic. And if you could say that, voter ID is racist, like what? Voter ID is racist.
That's crazy they think that.
They
don't think that. They don't think that. They know that that's not true.
It's horseshit.
Yeah.
It's all political horseshit. But that's unfortunately the level of discourse that we have today, especially with all the virtue signaling on social media and all the people clamoring to prove that they're the most progressive and the most open-minded and equitable, and we're all down for inclusivity and like
yeah.
Bro.
There's going to be repercussions to all that for sure.
So, I'm getting into the habit of just asking questions. That's how I started this whole thing. That's how I started my journey. Is it possible for someone to be sitting and having a conversation with someone and they purposely bring things up in the conversation? So they're saying it conversationally, but it's to fearmonger anyone who's watching. I only ask that because destabilization, demoralization, those are the things that are needed in order to keep a nation shaky, paranoid, in fear, needing of a savior. Is it possible for someone to do that? Could you sit down in front of somebody and know that you're going to talk to them, but also know I'm going to bring up XYZ during this conversation? Yeah? I love Joe. I'll say that along with that. I wonder, though. I wonder. Because when we watch these conversations, we always just assume it's just a raw conversation because that was the premise that we were given when all of this started. With every podcast. Is it possible for someone to game that? To strategically plan things out like that? Is that possible? Here's another question I'd ask. Or another thing I thought of. You know, it's funny. I don't know how old you guys are, but in the 80s, a lot of people thought wrestling was real because it was. It was very real. They would pick people up. You see the slams, you see the hits. You know, it's a little bit softer than it could be, but when somebody gets slammed, when someone gets thrown off the ropes, when someone gets thrown out of the ring, it's very real. But the hatred and the relationships, the rivalries, they were all fake. You know? And then people saw Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage. They saw those two having dinner together. And it disillusioned people. They were so surprised. They were like, how are these gentlemen having lunch together or dinner? How is this happening? You guys hate each other. That's what the person walked up and said, but you guys hate each other. The whole WWE is fake, right? Just talking about wrestling. Don't connect it to anything else. Just talking about wrestling. The whole WWE is fake, right? But the sides that we pick are very real. You know? I'm going to have to start some kind of email show where I can just say things that I need to say. But if you think about that with the WWE, the whole crowd, it'd be whole stadiums, and they all pick their side of who they think, and their feelings are very real. But the people who are at the heads of the WWE, well, they're never seen and they're never hurt. And the gentlemen who are in front of you, well, they're seen and they're sort of hurt, but not really to the extent that we think. And the realest relationships and rivalries that are going on are actually between the fans, between these masses of people. I just wonder if that could be done any other way. If that's the only way it's ever happened. Makes you think. But otherwise, completely different topic. So now it seems like Iran, China, and Russia are forming against the United States, Israel, for what that's worth. And I don't know who else would step in as an ally with the United States. I'm just going to end with this. You know, because when we get wrapped up in all this stuff, we forget that the end goal by 2030 is to have a one world government. How would we all agree to that? What could happen that we would all agree to that? I don't know. What could possibly take place that we would all agree? Anyways, I think Joe's overreacting just a little bit. You know, just a touch. You know, he's sitting around, he's thinking about we're going to be the last humans because AI is going to take over and it's going to govern us, but then also thinking that, you know, these are the last days and, you know, we're all going to get blown up. You can't have both. It's one or the other, right? I think he might be overreacting. He's overthinking a little bit. You know what I mean? You and I may not be overthinking a little bit because we got work to do. We're not millionaires. We got to actually work jobs. We got to get things done during the day. We got a bunch of stuff to do. I don't know. That's just my thought on that. Although there is a looming threat if things get out of hand. But also I've been taught time and time again, especially before I started doing all this stuff, I was always told by people older than me that the world is a stage. That it's all a stage. And it's the world. Not just the people we don't like. The world is a stage, they would say. Not just the mainstream media that you don't like, but possibly the actors that you do like, and the writers that you like, and the platforms that you like, the personalities that you like. They said the world was a stage, not just the countries that you like, The ones that you don't, they said the world is a stage. I don't know. It's just, as soon as that guy said, it's like now these three forces are lining up, which are Russia, China, Iran. Now they're lining up. Just started making me think, It's like you can't have both. It can't be some things are theater, but other things are very extremely real when you're talking about all the same thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think I am going to have to start an email show where I can get a little more Jonesy, if you know what I mean. But what do you think about what Joe's saying? Do you think the threat is really that close to American soil? I don't. I really don't. I have a proper faith in God, and I have a proper faith in America that that's actually not going to happen. I also have a proper faith that Trump will get into office and make all this go away. Now, will he just wave a wand and all of it will go away? I don't think so. I think it would take some really hard work because a lot of things have been messed up by the current administration. But it's a safe bet, in my opinion, that if he gets into office, he will fix a lot of this. How long do we have? Well, I don't think things are going to erupt to an absolute nuclear state in the next month or 6 months or 12 months. I think it takes a lot longer for something like that to happen. I think some more developments have to happen. That's just me, though. I'm not a political analyst. I'm becoming one. Slowly. But like the video if you haven't liked it already. Let me know in the comments what you think about what Joe has to say. Are his fears founded? Or could we possibly be getting played even in the most unlikely places? Let me know in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe. I'm out. Happy episode 700.